Have you ever had an amazing game one, felt completely in control, and then watched the set slowly slip away? This replay is a really good example of how momentum can flip, especially when a small knowledge gap starts affecting your decisions. We're going to look at what changed, why it changed, and how better platform play against Ranno could have completely shifted the outcome, along with some broader matchup lessons you can apply yourself. Hello again, and welcome back to another coaching video. I really appreciate the support on the most recent one. It's really cool that you guys seem to like what I'm doing here, and it seems to be helping you out, so I'll keep doing more of it. This time we have Edmund, who is a Zetterburn who's struggling against Ranno in this replay. So the main idea behind this analysis is going to be that there is a problem with matchup knowledge versus Ranno, and we will get into that, and it mainly concerns platforms. But this is actually more interesting because it's more about the game outside of the game, and how momentum really plays a part, especially against players that really know what they're doing. And yeah, it's more about how momentum shifts in a set and how important it is to actually keep track of that and how it's related to your mental game. Because what Edmund actually sent me in his message is he detected that it was a player problem and not necessarily a matchup problem, which is sort of half true in my opinion. But instead of being vague, I'm going to break it down. We're going to start with game one, which actually went really well, and I think after this is when the problems start to reveal themselves and why I think you can see that it's a momentum shift, and then I'll explain what you should do about that. So here we are in the replay, and the main point I want to make here is that you showed that you have a game plan to win, and it paid off. You basically showed the correct way to win. I think there's a lot of reasons why that happened, and you can sort of compare game one to your other games. I think specifically with this game, your decision making was a lot more confident, your willingness to actually make reads, and whenever you got an opening, you really capitalized on it, which is important. You could see that your punish game was on point, and you also got a really early kill, which mattered in getting your own momentum this game. But we'll work through the clips and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, so something really important about this game one is actually this stage, because I think the weakest part of your play, specifically against Ranno, but could potentially apply to other characters as well, it's a sort of a universal concept in how you play against platforms, especially vertically high ones like on Rockwall and Merchant Port. But the difference with Jules Vale is the platform doesn't really come into play very often, and it's much lower to the ground, so I felt like you had less problems with it. Like here, for example, you see him on the Plat and he jumps and you're already there with an up air to intercept him, which we don't really see in the next two games because of how you approach the platforms. That's just an example of how you're more confident on this stage, or it just suits your playstyle a bit better, or your current knowledge of how to play against platforms. And then here is an example of you actually having a confident read. You parry this fair, which we don't really see you do it in the next few games. You aren't as confident in your decision making like this, or just taking a risk knowing that it could pay off. And what I'm doing right now is just sort of building up evidence so we can contrast the games. So here's this early kill you get at the edge here, so you get a down tilt on his recovery, and then he DIs it bad, so you get a double fair. That's really huge in terms of momentum, and it's really important for you in sealing this first game. This last stock that's coming up is actually really sick, because you hit a recovery mix up. You do this, you hold your jump, and then you do a back air, and then you just hit a nasty punish. It just kills him at ridiculous percent. You just saw the opportunity and you took it, basically. Yeah, this was really good. So the whole thing about this game one, it felt like you were choosing the pace instead of sort of reacting to what he was doing. And now I'm going to show what happens in game two. So this little interaction here is basically the entire rest of the set, in my opinion. It's how Ranno is now in the platform and you're in center stage. I think this is the biggest adaptation the backpack has made here. It's made it really difficult for you, because it's either you have a huge knowledge on how to deal with this and pressure it, or you simply didn't recognize it happening and adapt quick enough. That's sort of up to you to decide, but I think it's probably the former. I think the entire problem is that you never put pressure or contest these platforms. And look what he does here. He feints down from the platform to see what you'll do, and what you continue to do is play passive. What does he do next? He comes in with a needle. See what I mean? It's very obvious that you're not willing to commit or put pressure on him, so what he does is take neutral for free. This position in center stage is not very threatening, and I'll show you why. You're in center stage here and Ranno's on top platform. If he's going to come down with a needle like this, what do you do? Well, it's definitely not dash dance in place, right? Maybe you could dash back like this, you could dash under him, but I think something really good to do is to whiff punish him. Either up smash or up tilt's pretty good as well, because it deletes the needle if you time it correctly, but it's a bit harder. It's also relatively lagless, so you can do something else afterwards, so it's not as committal. You can also beat it out preemptively as well. like that with up air. Okay, since I think you're struggling with the platforms a bit, we're gonna start just talking about shield dropping from this position rather than up here. I think it will clear up any knowledge gaps, and I think it'll be useful for people who don't really understand how to deal with the platforms, especially against Ranno. But let's break it down. So shielding on a platform allows you to shield drop right, and this is instant. It gives you access to strong aerial options immediately without having to jump. So for example, you wouldn't have to jump to access this, right? It's active. Like boom, it's out. And a character like Ranno, he has excellent options all around him. And some of these options are more rewarding than others, right? You see how fair combos into grab, back air can be a weak hit, which it isn't. Doesn't do anything right. But it can be a strong hit if they're in the right position. And they're not so much either, right? But it's quick. So bear covers behind them like this, and the strong hit's pretty good. But it's weak against CC, because you can make him do the weak hit. And it's also vulnerable to whiff punishing. Like that. And there's fair, which is really punishing on the strong hit because you can combo into stuff, and it also beats CC. He can act before me here. See, he's plus 3 here. But the thing with fair is it's slightly slower startup. I don't even do this frame perfectly, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it comes out in frame 7, but it's not super active, although it does have a huge hitbox. So it really only covers a specific timing. So you can dash back, probably punish it, right? Or maybe dash through it. I think if you did this versus bear, it would catch you because of the active frames. Then there's nair. It's really quick. It can pretty much beat any option. This is me trying to up air, and I pretty much don't beat it because it comes out so fast. Sure, you can beat it out with a preemptive option because the hitbox isn't huge, like this, but it's more for beating out if you're trying to attack, right? You're trying to like jump up and shine or something. That can beat you out, and of course it's really easy to bait and punish as well. That's sort of a recurring theme, is it's quite easy to bait and punish Ranno from the platform. Then, when you put it all together, it'll look something like this. See, dash back up smash does a pretty good job of beating most things. But that's where we get on to the next topic, and that's about proactive versus reactive gameplay. So basically what you're going to be doing is noticing what option the Ranno likes to do from the platform and base your game plan around that. So it does depend on the skill level of the player, but you want to see if they're reactive or proactive. So a reactive player will hold shield like this, and then when you move to do something like this, that's when they'll shield drop and do something. And that makes them very susceptible to baits, because if they're looking for any kind of movement, you bait it out, make it look like you're going to go in, then you punish them, right? And you can bait with like wavelands and stuff too. Wait for them to bite. And then similarly to what we looked at before, is a proactive player will swing first. Which is kind of what we're looking at, right? And this will obviously beat your feint, because you'll get hit. And as we explained, it's weak to whiff punishing. And the thing with good players is they're alternating these states. Sometimes they're playing proactive, sometimes they're playing reactive, and you have to see which one they're doing. And it makes them hard to pin down because they'll also change their timings. They'll react slower, sometimes they'll react quicker, and they'll mix up which option they're doing. The thing is, if someone's playing way too passive, that just allows you to play better mix-ups, because you start to get these shines on their shield. And the thing with shine on shield is most characters play a mix-up against shield like this, which is pretty slow, but you can shine them below the platform and waveland on so they're stuck. So they are free to act here. You can see he's +6, but if he jumps at a shield and you shine again and he gets hit, so the mix-up is sort of like shine grab or shine again. I think nair is a particularly good option if you edge cancel it and then shine afterwards, like that. I think one of the reasons is it's so good, it's a multi-hit. So it's going to catch multiple timings, and then you also stay safe with the edge cancel, go into a shine mix-up if it doesn't hit. I think rock wall platforms are some of the best at just chaining stuff on. I'm not going to talk about those shine mix-ups too much because for one, they're kind of complicated, and already have a video on it covering some of the stuff, which I will link. But definitely keep in mind edge cancels in general, especially with Dare as well. So the one thing with Dare is it does a lot of shield damage. And edge cancelling basically removes the recovery. You can play more mix-ups. But if you want to apply like safe pressure, you can also just use your aerial drift at like fair. Just poke at the shield while not letting him get a response. Doesn't really matter what aerial you use so much. All of them have some kind of usage. And you can sort of treat it as like a small win, because when you do this sort of safe pressure, you're still maintaining stage control, and you're damaging their shield, and that puts pressure on them. I wouldn't always keep using it. Eventually you do have to go in because then they're going to assume they're safe, and you also don't get that much reward from it. But it does force them to do something, because if you keep doing it, you're going to break their shield, right? So about the higher platforms here, the idea is the further away you are, the more time they have to react to your options. So if I'm down here and I'm trying to up air, it's more travel time. That's more time for them to react, right? But if I'm here, you're not reacting to what I'm doing. So that means the game plan when you're down here is defensive whiff punishment, and just covering options is stronger. Like this would cover options while remaining safe. But you should always aim to reduce the distance in order to put on pressure with unreactable mix-ups. So you don't even need to get on the platform below them. You can play from here too, mainly because of fireball. You can cover jump, you can cover below, and you can go right at them. Or you can just get in a position where they can't hit you, because he has to drop 2 platforms now to hit you, right? Meanwhile, you can hit him a lot easier. The thing is, if you have a percent or stock lead, you don't actually have to approach this either. Just set up your fire and let him come to you. I think Charge Shine also has some uses here, if you use it correctly, because you can cover options. If you're dash dancing here, for example, and he might look for a shield drop, this can work, but don't overuse it. It's mainly better against passive play. You can also do stuff like that. It's harder to react to, because you could waveland, come up with an aerial, or you can just do a regular shine, but this is really tricky. Sometimes you can land on the platform, sometimes you slide off. You can go back to like your edge canceling set play stuff. But those are just a few ideas for dealing with that. So things I wouldn't recommend versus Ranno. Yeah, so if you do strong up air as low as possible and you shield, I don't think fair hits you. I think it's 1 frame off of hitting you most of the time. Thing is, I wouldn't recommend this because shielding doesn't really put you in a great spot versus Ranno, especially if he's just faired you. You can maybe like shine at a shield, but I'd rather just not play this position in general. And the other thing I wouldn't recommend is just overly passive play in general, unless you're ready to whiff punish him with something, because you're giving up a lot of pressure and threat against him. So yeah, that was just a like little breakdown of platform play. It's kind of a more general idea, but we'll go and look at more of your examples and we can talk a bit more about what I was saying. But yeah, it's like a tidbit. Not a lot of people know about this, but you can, at a certain jump height, you can double shine onto the platform and get a shine grab, and it's completely true. Kind of hard to get because every platform has a different timing for it. Basically, as soon as the second shine hits, they get shine grabbed. Yeah, not a lot of people know about it, but it's pretty good. Oh yeah, the other frame trap you can do instead of shine in the platform is like shine there, or shine aerial in general. I definitely use all of those and see what works. Some are safer than others, I think. Shine there is pretty useful because it's low lag and it catches multiple timings, and you can edge cancel it up here. Like this top platform is really underrated actually, because as soon as you get edge cancel, you can do so much stuff up it. Do wavelands and stuff. Even like fair. Okay, so now that we've talked about platforms a little bit, let's look at these situations again. So here is sort of a repeat of the situation before, where you kind of let them just control the platform here, and you play pretty passive, so he just comes down with a needle. So as we talked about, there's counterplay to that needle, and you do parry it later as well, so it's not like you don't adapt to this. We need to recognize the situation sooner, either put pressure on or needle counterplay basically. And here is sort of like a subtle advantage issue that's sort of related to the platform as well. So you get this dash attack up smash, and he DIs away like this, but you sort of just stay here instead of pressuring him, and you can see that he's used his jump here as well. He's also lost a resource here, so if you did end up jumping up and pressuring this, if you hit him, it would be in a really bad spot, right? So it's just a bit too much passivity here. Here's just another little interaction with the platforms, this time on the lower one, where he comes off with an air like this. This is more so just like recognizing his options. We did talk about this, so now you'll be aware of it, but Backpack did show this option. It's coming down with an air, and we know what to do against this now. We can CC it, we can run under it, etc. Shield it, so it's only good against specific options, right? It's just a case of like looking out for it and then knowing what we want to use against it. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is aggression, and you're asking about to do that with Zerter. So let's define these concepts a bit more clearly. You struggle to play aggressive, both approaching and mashing. So let's define those a bit. So I would define approaching as more proactively play neutral rather than reactive, which means you might be taking a risk. And I guess by mashing, you just mean like close range scrapping that's often unreactable gameplay. But let's try and define a bit more what aggression even is. So similar to approaching, it's about being proactive. It's you that's dictating the pace, and I would say there's a difference between good and bad aggression. So bad aggression might look like choosing a risky option that's not really worth the cost. So for example, just rip in an F smash because you don't really get anything off it. Pretty straightforward. And it might be attacking at a range that the opponent prefers. It might also be attacking at a predictable timing. You're always bearing or naring in the exact same way every time. Makes you predictable and it makes your aggression bad. I think good aggression, on the other hand, probably looks like choosing an option that contains a risk but has comparable payoff. There carries risk because it's slow, but it's probably Zer's biggest payoff, right? And it might look like attacking at a range that's good for you, which is going to be here for Zer. He loves Shine. Loves this close range because that's where he can mix you up. Once he gets a Shine in, he starts a mix up. Some characters, they start their mix-ups elsewhere. I'd say to summarize that, bad aggression makes you easy to open up and predictable, but good aggression puts pressure on the opponent and increases their mental stack. I think that's the biggest thing about aggression is the pressure and the threat that it creates, both like mentally and also in terms of game state. Something particularly I would ask you to think about when you're saying that you want to play aggressive in a matchup is to consider the attributes of a character and compare them to your own. Yeah, I would say against Ranno, because he has faster ground speed, right? Actually makes it harder to play neutral and be aggressive because he's faster than you. If you try and hit him, he's got the advantage of moving on the ground, and an exaggerated version of this is probably like Maple, and I will explain that matchup at one point, how the neutral works. But in the Maple matchup, you have to play neutral very differently because you can't force your way in, and to a subtler extent, Ranno is the same. You don't really force your way in. I would say this is more of like a bait and punish matchup than anything else. I think whenever a character is faster than you, you should approach the matchup in that way. The thing is, you approach once you create respect in neutral because you understand what options they like or have conditioned them. For example, he used a lot of down tilt, right? And what he did was DC it or he hit you out of it. And I think that's an example of a respect that you've created because he started to think about your down tilt, but you never changed it up. As soon as he starts doing that, you should switch it up. If you do a wave dash and down tilt and then replace that with a dare, you're probably going to hit him instead, right? So that's an example of like creating an opening. It could be considered like an approach because you've sort of built up evidence that you could use as like, this is going to work. But another thing is, whiff punishing is really potent against Ranno. He's going to be doing this back air stuff, right? So you need to hit him out of it. You see how up smash ducks under the bear here? It's pretty underrated, and I think people should use it a lot more. And the same goes with up tilt as well. Yeah, you can use hurtbox shifting to actually whiff punish like this. I think Zer should use that a lot more too, especially in this matchup. Another thing about attributes is characters have weaknesses as well. So Ranno's slower in the air, so it means he can't approach you as well. If he's here, he wants to jump at you with a fair. You can't really do it, but on the ground he can get there much faster. Thing is, with his air game, he has really big hitboxes. That's the only thing you need to worry about, because if he's close, it can be difficult to deal with. So the other thing is about scrapping in this matchup, and I'd say Ranno is almost one of the best scrappers in the game, almost as good as Zer, but I think the main advantage Zer has is better approaching hitboxes, like Nair, Shine if he's close range, he's got a disjointed there. That's the sort of main approaching options, and dash attack too, I suppose. In comparison, I would say Ranno's moves are a bit more committal. Like F tilt's pretty committal, but its tilt's not down tilt as much. It's got some recovery for sure, but punishable. Like every down tilt's punishable because you just run up and dare him, and of course that's great reward for you. And if Zer wants to punish any of these, he can just get in with like a reverse up tilt, up smash, dare, grab, use CC, shield, stuff like that. But let's look at a few examples of you scrapping with Ranno and we'll go from there. Yeah, so this clip is about you using down tilt and getting CC'd like this. This is because you get the weak hit, of course, and also just like spacing it, and also not floor hugging as an OS. By OS I just mean like covering yourself by holding down when you do a button, because there's no drawback, right? Because if you were holding down, you would punish him for down tilting you back because he chose the wrong punish. But I'd say specifically out of the corner, just be a little careful with using down tilt if you're not prepared to cover yourself afterwards, because he actually dashed in here. If he dashed away, it might have been a better down tilt because it would have been spaced. You would have got the strong hit. But particularly when talking about aggression, you don't really want to come out the corner too aggressive unless you have a read. Okay, so what happens here is how you deal with Ranno's jab mix-ups. He jabs you, you floor hug, and then he F tilts. And what you should actually do here is shield after the floor hug, especially at this higher percent. You need to mix up shielding and doing an attack, but I would sort of recommend just holding shield a lot of the time, because Rannos will just go crazy on shield and it will give you a free punish, because F tilt the spacing on your shield would give you a dare afterwards. The only time you need to start attacking is when they do like jab grab on your shield, but a lot of the time I think you should default to shield and see what he does. Sometimes you can just roll out for free or spot dodge or shine at shield, but it's just something to be aware of when scrapping with him. I say default to shield at high percent here, because if he grabs you, he's not going to kill you probably, but if he gets an F tilt, he has a high chance to kill you here like he does this. Yeah, so here I think the problem is when you're in the scrap here, you're playing very like hesitant and passive. Good players can really prey on. As you'll see here, you're sitting in your shield and you give him the entire time to do bull hop reverse needle. Here you're just like waiting a long time. I think in those spots you have to think, my character thrives in these positions, and in this position things are unreactable, so I should probably swing, is the way I like to think about it, because if you don't, then he takes all this and then he baits you as well. So it's just like how he has agency here. He's created it. He's created this like mix up and you fell for the bait basically. One thing I would recommend about this situation, if you ever find yourself in shield, is wave dash out of shield shine is really good here, because it just instantly gets you into your mix-ups. So I'd really recommend that a lot, especially just to see how they deal with it. This clip is sort of like a platform thing, as well as just like knowing when to take your turn. Here you ledge dash on shield and he bears from the platform. And remember, like we said before, bears unsafe, especially on the weak hit, so you definitely could have shined at a shield here. So this is your turn. I think that mostly covers scrapping, but I will show you one example that you were getting hit by a lot in game 1, where he does like the multi-jab. You see how you can just like very easily floor hug, shield and roll away and get out of the situation? To sort of tie this all together, let's talk about something a bit more vague, and that's like the momentum that shifted throughout the set, and also how you should think about your mindset going into that. So game 1, you did really good, right? You were in control the whole game and you ended it with a sick combo. So here, momentum's completely on your side. On rock wall, it completely shifts. It gets taken away from you, mainly because of this knowledge gap in the platforms. What this causes to happen is for you to lose your confidence and turn momentum, and we can see that at the end of the game. And also from what you said to me, because you said, I'm not really sure if it's a player issue or a matchup issue. I'm good at the Ranno matchup, but in a way that pigeonholes yourself into not looking out for new things. It stops you from being curious, which is one of the most important things for improving. If you conclude you're good at the Ranno matchup, then you'll never find all the little details or new opportunities that good players will present to you, and you have to be ready for that stuff. That's how adaptation becomes a more like innate skill, and it's really important depending on who you're playing against. Like here, momentum definitely becomes more important the better the player you're against, because it becomes less about knowing what to do with your character and the mechanics of the game, and it becomes more about that player-to-player interaction. And that's sort of like where the mental game comes in as well, and like game theory and all that stuff. Yeah, so here you shake your head. I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you, right? But I would be frustrated here too. And I imagine your thought might be something similar to what you said to me, where you said you weren't sure if it was a player thing or a matchup thing. I'm not really sure like what's going wrong. And I think a couple important things to do is obviously take a deep breath here and think about your stage pick. And also instead of like what did I do wrong? Like how did I lose? Think, what do I do now? Like how do I respond? They sound kind of similar, but you kind of quickly need to like choose a new strategy in this sort of moment where you're not sure what's going wrong. You need to pick something like new, even if it's not the perfect answer, because you don't really have a huge amount of time to adapt. I think it's particularly hard when you're presented with a situation like this, because it's happened to me before, where you kind of know something's wrong. You might even know what it is that's going wrong, but you're not sure how to deal with it yet. That definitely happens. But I think the whole problem with the momentum shift here is it makes you play more hesitant, and it's especially true in this game because the situation on the platforms still present themselves a lot. So you're constantly getting hit with this situation when you're like, I don't know how to deal with this, and then you're trying to think about it in the game. So you hesitate more in the easy stuff that you're already doing in game 1. And that's not to say other things aren't going wrong in the game, but I feel like these are the most important points. Like that punish there, I know you've got better punishes than that. Like the shine down strong, you definitely could have converted off that and killed him, and then the momentum would have been back on your side for game 3. The hesitance, etc., whatever's going through your head at the moment, probably made that a whole lot harder. But yeah, the better players you play against, like really strong players, they adapt super quick, and you'll notice that. And getting upsets like this, I assume this is an upset for you. You really need to like stay locked in, like in this mental game component. But the positive twist to this whole thing is that playing nervous like this, it just reveals like things that you can work on that you're not completely confident in yet, that show up under stress. I think that's the best way to look at these sort of losses, where you're not like playing your best every game, and so you can take something away from it. Because usually the things that show up like this are just things that are not completely intrinsic yet. But yeah, I think that sort of summarizes the whole set and what I would recommend for you to work on. It's definitely the mindset and the momentum is the overarching like narrative in this set, but there's all the micro as well with the platforms, how to deal with like Ranno and neutral, like when to be aggressive, trying to reframe the matchup as more of like a whiff punish matchup, then like tiny mistakes like maybe not floor hugging at the correct times, overusing down tilt maybe a little bit, or not playing those interactions perfectly. Like all that stuff can add up, but I definitely think it's the knowledge gap, the platforms that will help you a lot, and just how you approach that, because you'll feel more confident as well, and it'll bring out those like positive aspects in your gameplay that you really showed in game 1. But yeah, I think that about covers it for this coaching video. I'll definitely have another one coming up soon. I'd definitely like to know feedback from you guys, like if the way that I'm explaining things is useful, like maybe things that I could do better. That would definitely be good to know, because the entire purpose of the coaching is to help, and if I can improve that in any way, then yeah, definitely let me know. But yeah, thanks again for all the support, and thanks for watching.